My name is Myra Whitmore. I'm 34 years old, a cardiology resident, and a single mother to 3-year-old twins. 2 months ago, I was lying in an emergency room hemorrhaging internally after a car crash. My hands trembled as I dialed my parents' number. I needed someone, anyone, to watch Lily and Lucas for just a few hours while doctors fought to keep me alive. What I received instead was a text in our family group chat that said, "You've always been a nuisance and a burden. We have Taylor Swift tickets with Vanessa tonight. Figure it out on your own." So I did. From my hospital bed, I contacted a nanny service, paid 3 times the rate, and made a choice that changed everything. I cut them off entirely. The monthly mortgage payments, the health insurance, the car repairs, everything I'd been silently covering for the past 8 years vanished. 2 weeks later, there was a knock on my door. Before I tell you who was standing there and what unfolded next, please take a second to like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy this story. Leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love connecting with all of you. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. Growing up in the Carver household, I learned early that love came with a hierarchy. My older sister, Vanessa, was the star. She always had been. She was 3 years older, effortlessly stunning, and had this magnetic presence that made our parents glow whenever she entered a room. When she announced she wanted to pursue fashion design, Mom cried tears of joy. Dad called her our little visionary. When I said I wanted to become a doctor, Dad nodded. That's practical. That was it. Practical. I told myself it didn't matter. I immersed myself in textbooks, aced every exam, and fought my way into one of the top medical schools in the country. 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, 3 years of residency specializing in cardiology. The day I graduated from medical school should have been one of the proudest moments of my life. My parents showed up 2 hours late. "Sorry, sweetheart," Mom said, barely meeting my eyes. Vanessa had an urgent meeting with a potential investor. We had to drop her off first. No flowers, no celebration dinner, just a quick picture in the parking lot before they hurried off because Vanessa needed emotional support after her meeting. Compare that to Vanessa's first fashion show 3 years earlier. The entire family flew to New York. 5-star hotel, front row seats. Dad posted 17 photos on Facebook with captions like, "So proud of our talented girl." I got a parking lot photo and a lukewarm "Congrats, honey." I told myself it made sense. Fashion is competitive. Vanessa needed more support. Medicine is secure. I could manage on my own. But what I didn't realize back then was that my parents' favoritism wasn't only emotional, it was financial, and I was the one covering the cost. It began 8 years ago, right after I completed medical school. Dad called me one night, his voice strained with embarrassment. "Myra, we're in a bit of trouble. The mortgage payment is due and things are tight this month. Could you help us out? Just this once. Just this once." I transferred $2,400 that night without hesitation. They were my parents. Of course I would help. But just this once turned into every month. The mortgage, then their health insurance premiums, $800 monthly, when Dad's company dropped their coverage, then the emergencies, the car repairs, the roof leak, the new furnace. I never refused. Not once. When I got pregnant with the twins and their father left during my 5th month, I called my parents from the hospital after a frightening bleeding episode. I was scared, alone, desperate for support. "Oh, honey, we wish we could come," Mom said. "But Vanessa is so stressed after her show in Milan. She really needs us right now." They didn't come. Not for the birth. Not for the first month when I was barely sleeping, nursing 2 newborns while studying for my board exams. But the automatic transfers kept going out. $2,400 for the mortgage, $800 for insurance, whatever else they needed. I kept a spreadsheet. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me needed to see it in black and white. The numbers were staggering. 8 years, $320,000, give or take. I never asked for appreciation. I never expected a parade. But I also never expected to be called a burden by the people I'd been supporting for nearly a decade. That reckoning was coming. I just didn't know it yet. The accident happened on a Tuesday evening. I was driving home after a 16-hour shift. My eyes were heavy, but I was focused enough. The light turned green. I moved into the intersection. I never saw the truck. It blew through the red light going 50. The crash slammed into my driver's side door. Glass shattered. Metal shrieked. The world spun, then everything went dark. I woke up in an ambulance, pain tearing through my abdomen. A familiar face hovered above me. Myra. Myra. Can you hear me? Dr. Marcus Smith. Emergency physician at my hospital. We'd worked together for 2 years. Marcus. My voice came out wrong. Weak. What's happening? You were in an accident. We're taking you in now. Possible internal bleeding. You're going to need surgery. Surgery? The word struck me like a second impact. My kids. I grabbed his arm. Lily and Lucas. They're with the babysitter. She leaves at 8. Marcus checked his watch. It's 7:15. 45 minutes. I had 45 minutes to find someone to watch my children while doctors open me up. I fumbled for my phone with trembling hands. Blood smeared across the screen as I pulled up my parents' number. It rang 4 times. Myra. Dad's voice was irritated. We're about to head out. What is it? Dad. I need help. The words spilled out between sharp breaths of pain. I was in an accident. I'm being taken to the hospital for surgery. Please, I need you and Mom to watch the twins just for a few hours. Silence on the line. Then hold on. I heard muffled voices. My mother's tone sharp and annoyed. Vanessa's laughter in the background. The line went still. Then my phone buzzed with a text notification. Family group chat. The message was from my mother. Myra, you've always been a nuisance and a burden. We have Taylor Swift tickets with Vanessa tonight. We've been planning this for months. Figure it out yourself. I read it twice, 3 times. The words didn't change. A second message appeared from Dad. You're a doctor. You're familiar with hospitals. Don't turn this into something bigger than it needs to be. Then Vanessa. Not words. Just a laughing emoji. That was it. That was all I meant to them. A laughing emoji while I lay bleeding in an ambulance. Marcus was watching me. I didn't realize he could see my screen until he spoke. Myra. His voice was cautious. What did they say? I couldn't respond. Something had split open inside me, and it wasn't just the internal bleeding. I need a phone, I whispered. A phone with internet. Mine's dying. He handed me his without hesitation. I searched emergency nanny services, found one with 24-hour availability, called, explained the situation in clipped professional sentences. Yes, I would pay triple the rate. Yes, I would provide the babysitter's contact for handoff instructions. Yes, I authorized payment immediately. It was handled in 4 minutes. Marcus was still watching me when I gave back his phone. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Can you screenshot those messages? I asked from my phone before it dies. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I can do that. I closed my eyes as the ambulance pulled into the hospital bay. The pain was unbearable now, but it wasn't coming from my abdomen anymore. From that hospital bed, with an IV in my arm and fear in my chest, I made the simplest decision of my life. The surgery lasted 4 hours. Ruptured spleen, internal bleeding. Another few minutes and I might not have survived. I spent 5 days in the hospital, 5 days of IV drips, morphine fog, and nurses checking my vitals every few hours. Not one call from my parents, not one text, not one visit. The emergency nanny service was costly, but worth every cent. They coordinated with my regular sitter, kept Lily and Lucas safe and fed, sent me daily photo updates. Strangers handled my situation better than my own family. On day 3, I asked the nurse for my laptop. "Are you sure you're up for it?" she asked. "You should be resting. I need to handle something." My hands were steady as I logged into my banking app. 8 years of automatic transfers stared back at me, regular as clockwork. $2,400 on the 1st of every month, $800 on the 15th. I canceled them all. Then I opened my phone settings, blocked my father's number, my mother's, Vanessa's. There was no dramatic moment, no tears, no second thoughts. It felt like putting down a weight I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten it was there. Marcus stopped by later that afternoon. He'd checked on me every day, bringing coffee and quiet company. "How are you feeling?" he asked. I looked up at him, and for the first time in years I told the truth. Better. For the first time in 8 years, I actually feel better. He didn't press for details. He just nodded like he understood. I knew the fallout was coming. My parents would notice the missing money. They would rage and cry and demand explanations. But I didn't expect what came next. 2 weeks after my surgery, I was finally home, moving carefully, still sore, but alive. It was a Saturday morning. I was flipping pancakes for Lily and Lucas, their favorite weekend treat. The kitchen smelled like butter and maple syrup. Lucas was trying to stack his toy blocks. Lily was helping by knocking them over. Then came the knock. 3 sharp raps on my front door. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, my heart rate jumping. If it was my parents, I wasn't ready. I didn't know if I'd ever be ready. I looked through the peephole and my breath caught. Standing on my doorstep was a tall man in his 70s. Silver hair, neatly combed, piercing blue eyes that I remembered from childhood. A posture that still carried the authority of 40 years on the federal bench. Grandpa Thomas. I hadn't seen him in almost 3 years. My parents always had excuses for why we couldn't visit. Too busy, too far, too inconvenient. I opened the door and he pulled me into a hug so tight it made my surgical incision throb. "Myra." His voice was gruff. "Let me look at you." He stepped back, his eyes studying my face, then lowering to where my hand rested protectively over my abdomen. "I know everything," he said quietly. "Eleanor told me." Aunt Eleanor, my mother's younger sister, the only person in the family who'd ever openly challenged how my parents treated me. "Grandpa, I don't." He raised a hand. "You don't need to explain anything, but I do need you to come somewhere with me." He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Cream-colored, elegant, formal. An invitation. My 70th birthday party next Saturday. The whole family will be there. His eyes met mine, and I have some things that need to be said. Grandpa Thomas sat at my kitchen table, watching Lily and Lucas with a gentle smile. They'd taken to him instantly, showing off their toys, demanding his attention. He gave it freely. "They look just like you did at that age," he said. "Same stubborn chin." I set down 2 cups of coffee and took the seat across from him. "Grandpa, how did you find out about the accident? About everything?" Eleanor called me. "The night it happened." He wrapped his hands around the mug. "She'd heard through one of your cousins, when she told me what your parents did." He stopped, jaw tightening. "I've watched this for years, Myra. The way Helen and Richard treat you compared to Vanessa. I'm old, but I'm not blind." I stared at my coffee. I thought maybe I was imagining it, making it worse than it was. "You weren't." His voice carried the authority of a man who'd spent decades separating truth from lies. I was a federal judge for 40 years. I know how to read people. I know what favoritism looks like, what exploitation looks like. He leaned forward. Tell me something. Do you still have records of the money you've sent them? I nodded slowly. Every transfer. 8 years. Good. He leaned back. I want you to prepare a summary. Every payment, every date, every amount. Why? Because at my birthday party, in front of the entire family, I intend for the truth to surface. His eyes were steady, not as an attack, not as revenge, simply as facts. And facts, as I learned in 40 years on the bench, have a way of speaking for themselves. My hands trembled around my mug. What if they hate me? The ones who matter won't. He reached across and squeezed my hand. And the ones who do never deserved you. The next 2 weeks were a blur of preparation. I printed every bank statement, every transfer confirmation, 8 years of financial records arranged chronologically, placed in a plain manila folder. Seeing it all together was staggering. Month after month, year after year, a stream of money flowing one direction. Aunt Eleanor came over 3 days before the party. She was 55, sharp-tongued, and had always been the black sheep of the family for refusing to pretend everything was fine. She flipped through the folder, her expression darkening with each page. $360,000, she said evenly. Myra, do you understand what this is? I know. This is more than most people make in 7 years of full-time work. She set down the folder. And they called you a burden. I pressed my palms against the kitchen counter.